Okay. Okay. Mic check, mic check. Live on Instagram, live on YouTube. Abu Gaddafi on Instagram and Abu Gaddafi on YouTube. Today's title, live on YouTube. Just got the notification, live on YouTube. Today's title, entitled, Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. Before we get started, I'll open up in the name of Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom we forever and ever give praise and thanks for raising for us a divine leader, teacher, guide, and example in the person of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. In these two great and holy names, I greet the brothers and sisters in the universal understanding of peace. Assalamu alaikum. So yes, the title today, Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. Before I get started, I'm going to review the topic that we had last week that builds us to today. Last week's topic was Jewish loopholes and what that means for Black people. Jewish loopholes in their laws. According to their Jewish laws, they have loopholes. What does that mean for Black people? Now, these Jewish loopholes, just a brief description. Last week we spoke on them. We described them in details. They're known as ha'arama. These Jewish loopholes in their laws are called ha'arama. And we also discussed how they've been able, the Jewish people, their community have been able to achieve their mindset because according to their belief from scripture, their representative Jacob, we know him as Yaqub, their representative Jacob wrestled with God and won. So their leverage has allowed them rulership over the planet however they see fit. And that was our discussion last week. Now, before I go any further, I want to say, dear Lord, please give me the wisdom to do the thing you put me on this earth to do in a way that pleases you and serves the people you put me here to serve. With that being said, continuing on, an example, again, going into ha'aram, meaning the loopholes that the Jewish community uses, ha'arama, an example of how they use it on a minor scale. Again, we have minor scales and we have major scales. So on a minor scale, the way that they use this ha'arama, this loophole, according to their laws, they are not allowed to cook anything on the Sabbath day. On the Sabbath day, they're not allowed to do any types of labor. They can't cook, they can't do anything. So a loophole that they employ in terms of making coffee, because cooking the coffee grounds are considered cooking, so they are not able to do that. What they do is the water that's in the coffee machine, as it's boiling, they don't consider that cooking because the water is boiling on its own. Again, this is a loophole that they're employing. As it's boiling, when it's done boiling, instead of pouring it directly onto the coffee grounds, because that would be considered cooking on the Sabbath day, instead they pour the boiling water into a separate cup. And then the separate cup, they pour that water onto their coffee grounds and then drink the coffee. And so this is an model of employing this loophole called ha'arama. When you look at it, it seems as if they're employing a justification, and we already reviewed that this comes from their idea that they wrestled with God and won. So they're able to basically work around the word of God because they've already wrestled. Again, we said that the word in the Bible, it says that the word became flesh and dwelt among us. So the word was first, then God. So if they were able to wrestle with the flesh, if they were able to wrestle with the flesh, then of course they can wrestle with the word. Okay, and that's the loophole. That's the ha'arama, is wrestling with the word. Okay, now follow with me. As they're wrestling with the word, again, our topic today is Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. So as these Jewish community is wrestling with the word of God and winning, having leverage, this same concept is employed by the Orthodox Muslims. This is how they are allowed, they themselves allow themselves to set up liquor stores in our communities and sell to our people liquor and pig, that which they themselves do not consume. You will never see a righteous Muslim setting up shop in a black community or a underprivileged community, setting up liquor stores and selling pig, and they themselves cannot join. So, since we know that the Orthodox Muslim, according to their law, is not allowed to set up liquor stores or stores that will sell things that are prohibited to our people, they're not allowed to do that. Yet they find loopholes, same as the Jewish community will find ha'arama, loopholes to get around the law for their benefit. And so the same tactic is employed by Orthodox Muslims. They will find a loophole to get around that tactic. Now, there should be solutions in place for Muslims who choose to do that, because it is in the Quran where it says, do not ask a question if the answer will cause you distress. So if a Muslim doesn't ask permission to set up a liquor store, because the answer would be no, you're not allowed to do that, it would cause them distress by asking the question. Therefore, they just don't answer. And so a solution to that would be having neighborhood representatives for us, ourselves, having neighborhood representatives in the hood, just like a Jewish community would. They don't allow loans to other communities to build in their neighborhoods, right? So, not to get too far off topic, I'm just making a statement that the ha'arama, the loopholes, are employed by other communities. Now, our title today, moving forward, is Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. By us, I mean the collective of black people owes us an apology. Now, I know many of the believing Muslims who follow Minister Louis Farrakhan may have a few thoughts in mind, but I want to first begin by saying, of course, with all due respect, I'll never disrespect an elder. I don't disrespect anybody because I don't want to be disrespected. So it's always with all due respect. Another response that I'm familiar with in the community is, well, brother, you're not perfect, which is actual facts. I am not perfect. I do not claim to be perfect. However, in our general orders, it says to report all violations of orders I am instructed to enforce. It doesn't ask for qualifications. It just says report all orders, report all violations of orders I am instructed to enforce. And also, I want us to imagine we have, as Black people, we have a hard time holding our leaders accountable. And real brief side note, the situation with P. Diddy. I said I wasn't going to go too deeply into P. Diddy because Allah in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad does not care about the details in the industry. We have a higher task at hand. So the details of that is not important. What is important is taking an elevated perspective. Again, we spoke on rising above emotions. Taking an elevated perspective and looking at it deeper and understanding that the situation with P. Diddy had been happening for a long time. The video that was surfaced, I believe, transpired in 2016. As critically thinking adults, we can pretty much conclude that that wasn't the first time. And so what happens is these things happen in our environment, yet we collectively don't hold these individuals accountable. We can see men mistreating women and not hold them accountable in a respectful way. And so holding each other accountable is very important on all levels. Can you imagine if you have a brother who's like myself, who's making this statement, right? And then have another person say, well, brother, you ain't perfect. Can you imagine if you're in a relationship so in the household, the man is the head of his household and he serves the home. If the man sees something and makes a statement, the woman, trusting her man, will submit. However, if she has a question, she is able to get clarity. Can you imagine if the man or woman, after being critiqued, said, well, you ain't perfect. Hey, baby, I noticed that when you are washing dishes, I noticed that you tend to, I really appreciate that you washing the dishes, but I noticed that you tend to slam the plates in the dishwasher. You know, I ask that you please be gentle with the dishes. You know, we don't want to break them. And the wife said, well, you be slamming the doors, and when you're in your car, you stomp on the brakes, and just, it's called deflecting rather than accepting accountability. And this is a common practice amongst us as a people. We do not accept critique very well, especially towards the leaders that we have and that we identify with. Anytime somebody critiques, even if it's respectful. Now, I understand disrespect. Disrespect should always be handled in a very particular way. But in a respectful way, critique should always be at least considered. And then accountability should be maintained. Now, I'm not stepping on no platform and saying I'm perfect and this. No. And we're going to get to the point that I'm making. We're going to get to the point. Okay. Now, another point that I want to make before we move on, in terms of followers of Minister Farrakhan may be upset at the things that I'm saying, even though I'm being respectful, I have to make note, same as the note I made on the previous videos, that any threats made are a direct demonstration of aggression. And we do not tolerate direct demonstrations of aggression. Okay. Now that that's said, we'll move forward. Peace, 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 peace. Okay. Okay. The title is Minister Farrakhan Owes Us an Apology. What prompted this statement is twofold. Twofold. The first fold is in, I don't know the year, that this was stated, but I do know that in, let's see, the Sabina church, Minister Farrakhan stood up in front of the church of Michael Flegger and said, is this man, is the white man the devil? Not this one. And everybody in the congregation got excited. Excitement leads away the mind. Everyone got excited. Now, that is not the reason that Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. That is not the reason. That is the premise. Another prompt that brought this to the forefront is it was the beginning of this week. A brother who follows Minister Farrakhan, I think his name is Hashim. He did the freestyle with DMX and Jay-Z. He made a post that had some white Muslims, and on the bottom it said something, these are big capital letters, not devils, right? And so my question to him was, by what measurement are you coming to that conclusion? Because we know that Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. And so it has to be backed by an equation. You have to be able to look at it mathematically, not emotionally. Okay. Now, these things, and then he took it down and said, this video is in regards to some controversy. The last post had controversy. So he ended up posting up the video, which is a separate video that Minister Farrakhan made in, I don't know the year, but he posted it. And in that video, Minister Farrakhan quoted from the Quran in Surah or chapter 49, meaning the apartments, and verse 11. And in that Surah, it says, evil is a bad name after faith. And I 100% agree. You have no arguments there, especially it's in the Quran. The context of that verse is the way in which we handle people and not basically calling them outside of their names. It talks about backbiting. It talks about gossiping. It talks about bullying. It talks about these different levels of speaking about people. It's basically calling them outside of their names. So you don't call somebody stupid or dumb or backbiting. That's what that verse in the Holy Quran is referring to. It says evil is a bad name after faith. When someone begins to believe, then it is not right to speak on them in a negative fashion. Us as Muslims, we taught not to speak on anyone in a negative fashion anyway. And so that's just a further development of our character. And so in that regard, I agree 100%. We should not be speaking on people outside of their names. However, we have to understand that when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the white man is the devil, he wasn't saying it to be a bully. He was teaching us about the nature in which they were created. He wasn't saying it so that we could go and bully them and call them outside of their names and every 5 seconds call them devil at this and devil that and be disrespectful. He gave us the nature so that we understand who and what we were dealing with and why they treat us and behave in that fashion. Now, if you have a conversation, and I have had many, but if you have had a conversation with a Caucasian person, they have no opposition to being called, known, and referred to as devil because they know who they are. They have a thorough knowledge of how their ancestors treated the rest of the planet Earth. They have no issues with calling themselves and each other devil. You can hear it in the way they talk. When a man is handsome, look at that sly, handsome devil. The way that he moves, oh, he's a slick devil. Oh, you wily devil, you dare devil. They already have an understanding that devil is not necessarily a derogatory term. It just quantifies or qualifies their nature. That's what they're referring to. And that's what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad was referring to. So does it say in the Quran that evil is a bad name after faith? If someone submits to Islam, do we continue to call them outside of their name? No, sir. But do we tell them that they are no longer devils? No, sir. By them submitting to Islam, they should have a heightened understanding of their nature. That's why the lessons refers and says they have to study for 35 to 50 years to even do trade with us. You cannot alter their nature. It is impossible. Now, none of this is why I'm stating that Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. Even, let's say, and this is totally okay because the Quran, the lesson says, qualify yourself for positions that await you. Qualify yourself. So if the man believes that he can qualify himself to take the place of Allah and change the nature of a Caucasian and bring that devil out, just like Jesus was able to cast out the demons into the pig, all praises are due to Allah. I submit 100%. If you believe that you have that power, then all praises are due to Allah. I submit that that power is capable of being achieved. That's not why Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. Because if that power is accessible, if Master Farad Muhammad could do it, if the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad could do it, they never said that they could do it. But if that power exists, then they can do it. So if Minister Farrakhan is making the statement that he has access to that power, all praises are due to Allah. 100%. That's not why I'm saying Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. Now, before we move on, the Holy Quran says, surely the worst of living creatures in the sight of Allah are those who do not use reason. Surely the worst of living creatures in the sight of Allah are those who do not use reason. Okay? Now, as we could continue to move forward, I want us to reason together. So like I said, none of those reasons before is what prompts me to make the statement. I'm just building. As we continue, again, I'm making a statement that I am not, the Bible says, he who is without sin cast the first stone. And so on one end, I'm not casting any stones. I'm not condemning. I'm making a statement. Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. The next statement I want to make about that quote from the Bible that says, he who is without sin cast the first stone, that was in particular a particular consequence, and the end result was death. Literally people throwing literal stones, causing people to literally die. Now, of course, we can use it in a metaphorical sense, but we should not equate our words of critique to causing someone's death. So yes, I agree. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. But also keep in mind, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad never taught like that. You know, he never taught on the slavery teachings like that. He taught, report all violations of orders I am instructed to enforce. We were supposed to men make men sharp, hold each other accountable. Those are the teachings of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He never had slavery teaching. So, with that being said, let's get into the reason why I'm stating Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology. In approximately December of 2023, a little bit over 6 or 7 months ago, Reverend Michael Flager, who the minister publicly stated is the white man the devil, not this one. Publicly stated he is no longer the devil. Now, I don't know if he meant the nature of him, or I don't know if he meant, is he a devil? I don't know, but the statement was made, is the white man the devil? Not this one. And so in December of 2023, just going to read you an article. And now when I first read this, I cannot lie, I was surprised. I was surprised, 100% surprised. It says the Reverend Flager plans to bless same-sex couple following Pope's declaration. For the people upset with the change in Vatican policy, the pastor at St. Sabina on the south side said blessings for same-sex couples are a recognition of people's humanity. When Pope Francis announced Monday that priests can now bless same-sex couples, it was difficult to say when the first blessings would happen, but the Reverend Michael Flager of St. Sabina Church had already received a blessing request for a same-sex couple, and he plans to hold it early in the new year. Why would it be too early, he asks. It should be a smooth transition. Let's not make a big deal of it, Flager said Wednesday. Now, I want to briefly stop there and say, I believe that people should have the freedom to do as they choose. That's why we have free will. I don't have anything against homosexuals. I have nothing against people. However, there's a time and a place. It continues on. Why would it be too, for the people, it says, for the people upset with the change, Flager said blessings for same-sex couples are a recognition of people's humanity. Flager, an activist priest who's led an Auburn Gresham church since 1981, said he was very pleased with Francis's announcement about blessings. I think it's long overdue, he said. He's heard very positive reactions from his congregation. This is where the nature of the individual becomes faltered. The nature is now re-emerging. If Minister Louis Farrakhan has stated that man, Flager, is no longer or was never a devil, and that was a fact, then at this point in time, as we dissect, and we'll further dissect the information, at one point in time, he has to be a devil. There is no way around it. Either he always was, and Minister Farrakhan knew and said other than what he was saying, or Minister Farrakhan changed his nature, and Father Flager came back to his nature, and Minister Farrakhan has made a mistake, and therefore an apology must be made. As we continue, it says a day after the Pope's announcement, a same-sex couple in Flager's congregation reached out to him for a blessing. I asked him if this is something he'd be willing to do. He said he'd be honored. To sanctify and facilitate a same-sex marriage under the umbrella of God is blasphemy. That is totally contrary to the nature in which we were created. If there's only two natures on the planet, if the nature of God, who is the original nature, for the black original people of the planet Earth, our original nature is righteousness, then the only other present nature is unrighteousness. So if you have righteousness as your nature, and then you alter that unrighteousness and it becomes unrighteousness, then something needs to change. It says here, I asked him if this is something he'd be willing to do, and he'd be honored. So that alters from righteous to unrighteous. The nature at one point in time could have been righteous, and let's say that it was. For somehow, in some way, the nature of that man was altered into being righteous, then all praises are due to Allah. We have to give credit and honor to where honor is due. If a man is able to alter the nature of a devil, even though the lessons say it's not possible to do, we have tried for not trillions of years, but we have tried and all others have failed. But the man is able to do that, then all praises are due to Allah, right? However, after having that done, and the man is going back to Flager, going back to his nature and allowing under his umbrella of godlyhood, it says here, he is important to us. He is truly a man of God. This is the men who are making reference to Flager are saying he's a man of God. What God? What God allows and blesses homosexuality and same-sex marriage under their umbrella? Should we love our people? Absolutely 100%. We should love them. But should we facilitate and give safe haven for activities outside of our nature? No, absolutely not. And the minute that the man reverted back to his unrighteous nature, a statement should have been made in public to either make right the wrong that was done, or no, just period, make right the wrong that was done, or as done in the past, when a mistake has been made in the public, a public statement is made, either as condemnation or explanation. We have plenty of examples of men who have made mistakes under the umbrella of God and have been, if you make a mistake in public, then the correction must also be made in public. You can't have a public mistake and then a private correction and then no public rectification being made. That's not mathematics. It does not add up. We have plenty, and a perfect example is the circumstances in which Dr. Khalid Muhammad was publicly corrected. Now, from my understanding, that event was completely, him having to be corrected was completely justified. It was justice. We cannot be in the public speaking about murdering mothers and children. That's not Islamic in no way, shape, or form. Even if it's an eye for an eye, speaking in that terms is not righteous. So I understand that. And so corrections publicly had to be made, that is Islam. That's justice. And so today, if Minister Farrakhan at that time, years ago, publicly made a statement saying that Dr. Khalid Muhammad was wrong and he's being chastised according to the law, then the same circumstances and the same justice applies to today. If the man in public, Minister Farrakhan said to the man, Flager, in public, that Flager is not a devil. Is the white man a devil? Not this one. And if Minister Farrakhan has making that statement is saying that he can alter the nature of a devil, like I said, all praises are due to Allah. All praises are due to Allah. However, if in the future, 6 months ago, the man makes a statement that is contrary to the righteous nature of the black man and is faltering back into his nature of unrighteousness, similarly to how Dr. Khalid Muhammad made statements that were unrighteous. You cannot speak about murdering children in the public. That is not Islam. So he was publicly corrected. The same here is equality, is justice for Flager. If Flager makes a public statement, says that he's now going to, in his congregation, in his church, is going to allow same-sex marriage, then a public statement must be made of correction. Is he still a devil? Is he not still a devil? And the reason why I'm saying this is not necessarily just for Minister Farrakhan. All praise due to Allah. He's been teaching for so long. The man is 91 years old. He's been in front of us for years, done excellent work. But what it does is it tells the message that's being shared is that we are not allowed to hold our leaders coming after him accountable. This is a lesson that needs to be taught. Who is going to hold the leaders accountable? When someone in any civilized organization, whenever somebody refers or brings someone else to their congregation, you are it's like credit. You taking out a credit, it's called cosign. So if that cosigner messes up, if that cosigner makes a mistake, then the person the cosigner and the cosignee, if the cosigner cosigns to somebody and that cosignee makes a mistake, it falls on the head of the cosigner. So if a man in public brings a person in front of the public and makes reference and co-signs his existence to say that this man has altered his nature, all praises are due to Allah. We all get excited, and now this man is accepted into our civilized mind frame. He now has been elevated into his nature. The second that he makes a mistake, he has to be corrected publicly, or a mistake or a correction needs to be made. And this is why I'm stating that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan owes us as Black people an apology or a public correction. The messenger never taught this form of slavery teaching, as the article continues on. It says, let's face it, in any of our congregations, we have gay and lesbian members who have people who've had abortions, been to jail. He said, we are trying to point out what we dislike about somebody instead of just loving each other. The messenger never taught just love everybody. Love everybody. That's not the messenger's teachings. Yes, we should love, but we have to have parameters. If we allow these things to happen inside of our homes, why would they change? That's the whole teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, stating, like attracts and unalike attracts and like repels. So if we're saying we allow that, it's going to only attract the unrighteous behaviors. So with all that being said, I make the statement: Minister Farrakhan owes us an apology or a public correction for allowing this to continue. Cesar said he's the last leader. Okay. Yes, ma'am. To still make a public statement. And I will have a discussion with anybody about this, because if I'm wrong, I will apologize. I'm not putting myself on no pedestal and being like, yeah, I know, right? I'm just saying, our general order says to report all violations of orders I'm instructed to enforce. And it's no good. And again, I'm not putting myself in the shoes of that man. Man's been here for years and years and years, 90 plus years, 91 years old. So let's say he is the last leader. The last leader should still have to be held accountable. It's our lives in his hand. So yes, trust. And this is the Bible verse the Quran verse I wanted to make reference to, that gives us a proper understanding of how our God and our leaders are to be handled. So in the Holy Quran, in chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, it says here, remember, when your Lord said to the angels, it says remember. Anytime the Quran says remember, it's like the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, history is best qualified to reward our research. So it gives us an opportunity to look at the past, to learn from the past's mistakes so we don't continue. So Minister Farrakhan may be our last leader. I don't know what that means. Maybe we'll be self-led, or I don't know. I don't know what that means uh, in reality, but in the Quran it says, remember, when your Lord said to the angels, I am going to place a successive human authority on earth. They asked Allah, will you place in it someone who will spread corruption there and shed blood while we glorify your praises and proclaim your holiness? Allah responded, I know what you do not know. This verse in the Holy Quran has been referenced many times to show forth the nature of Iblis, because Iblis refused to submit, right? So we're very familiar with taking a look at the Quran from the understanding of to be unlike Iblis, having humility and submission. All praises are due to Allah. A Muslim is he who submits to the will of Allah. However, if we rewind the verse a few sentences back, it gives us proper handling when it comes to Allah. Remember, when your Lord said to the angels, I am going to place a successive human authority on earth, I'm going to choose your leader. They asked. That's where the point should be highlighted. They asked. There was no just immediate yes, okay, because they, like the Holy Quran says, surely the worst in the sight of Allah are those who do not use reason. So of course, if Allah is making a statement or an instruction to the angels, if the angels with their critical thinking sees a little bit something that they have no understanding, they are well within their right to ask a question, to have critical thinking. So what did they do? The angels, they asked Allah, Allah, will you place in it someone who will spread corruption there and shed blood while we glorify your praises and proclaim your holiness? Then Allah responded, I know what you do not know. And then after Allah is stating that, he gave measurement. So of course we know that Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam and can be proven at no limit of time. Anytime you have mathematics, you must have a standard unit of measurement. And so earlier in today, my children were playing with this ruler right here. We're talking about standard unit of measurements. My children were playing with this ruler. And they were coming up. So we have inches, we have inches, and we got centimeters. And they were just going up and measuring stuff. And they was like, Father, it's 30. It's 30. And we were asking, 30 what? And they were saying, it's 30, it's 30. They were yelling out numbers without having a standard unit of measurement. In certain countries, you have millimeters. In the United States, we use inches. And so it wouldn't be 30 inches, it would be 30 millimeters or 12 inches. And so in mathematics, we must have a standard unit of measurement. And so when Allah, after they asked Allah, will you place in it someone who will spread corruption there and shed blood while we glorify your praises and proclaim your holiness? Allah responded, I know what you do not know. So after making that statement, he answered their questions, saying, obviously giving us permission to question Allah. Then he gave a standard unit of measurement. He didn't just keep it arbitrary. He specifically said, he taught Adam the names of all things, and then he presented them to the angels and said, tell me the names of these if what you say is true. So there was a dialogue between Allah and the angels. Allah said, do this. The angels wanted clarification. Then Allah gave a measurement. The standard unit of measurement was, if you disagree with what I'm saying, then present me the names of what you say, if what you say is true. So if you are so determined and certain that what you say is actual facts, then present to me the names that I presented to Adam. And so with that being said, that highlights the proper way in which we utilize or use mathematics to handle instruction. Like I said before, when the minister said that is the white man the devil, not this one, there should have been clarity. There should have been some type of mathematics. Well, the reason why is because I'm able to alter his nature, or maybe he submit to the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad. Maybe at one point in time, he said, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. None of these mathematical equations were made statement, so it left us with arbitrary knowledge. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into Flager's connection to the Pope to make further clarity on how he was not able to alter his nature based off of the individual that he submits to. Then I'm going to go into Message to the Black Man, and we're going to call it a day. Okay? So, Flager, who is a Catholic Catholic preacher, pastor, I don't know what they're called. Reverend, that's what it is, Reverend. Catholic Reverend. By being a Catholic, according to the teaching of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they subscribe to the teachings of Jesus, but their loyalty and their subscription is to the Pope of Rome. One second. Yes, can I help you? Got some work being done. Okay. So the fact that Flager is a Catholic priest, by definition, subscribes to the following and the organization of the Pope of Rome. On page 80, so the messenger speaks on the Pope of Rome 3 times in Message to the Black Man. One on page 80 and twice on page 286 and 287. And so I'm going to go into the first page. We'll go deeper into the last page later on the way in which the messenger describes the Pope of Rome. So this page, the messenger is speaking on Islam. Islam is that old time religion, messenger says. On the bottom of the page, it says Islam is the natural religion of the black man. The natural religion. It is of our nature. Submission is of our nature. Muslim means he who submits to the will of Allah. And so Islam's submission to Allah is of our nature. It is the nature in which we are made. We are called to return to Islam in these words from the Holy Quran. Set your face upright for religion in the right state. The nature made by Allah in which he has made men. There is no altering of Allah's creation. There is no altering of Allah's creation. That is the right religion, but most people do not know. It says here, do you mean to say that you do not need such religion? He's talking to us, black people. Do you mean to say that you do not need such religion? Your nature, you don't need it? Or do you say that the white race's manufactured Christianity is giving you peace and contentment? Whose world recognized manufactured Christianity is giving you peace and contentment? Whose world recognized father is the Pope of Rome. The Pope of Rome is the father of this world. And the nature of Allah's creation cannot be altered. So it says, whose world recognizes the father of the Pope of Rome. Not Jesus nor Allah. God is the father of the Christian religion as practiced by the white race and those who believe in it. And so this is the messenger, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's thoughts on the Pope and those who follow the Pope. And so I'll make a statement again. If the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was making a statement that he can alter the nature of Allah's creation, or excuse me, the black man is Allah's creation, the Caucasian man is a grafted. They know this by science. So if he can alter the grafting outside of its nature, all praises are due to Allah. That is a power that we need in this world. However, if publicly it didn't work, we deserve a public apology and we deserve a public correction. That's just justice. Okay? Now, usually I'll read Message to the Black Man. I'm going to read this page. Then I got to get out because work needs to be done. The coming of the Son of Man, the great Mahdi. For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Okay, work is getting done. Work is better than prayer. I thank you for joining me. And as I close out, in the name of Allah, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is forever due, for raising up a divine leader, teacher, and guide in the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we greet the brother and sister universal understanding of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Only because work needs to be done.